Welcome back to Attack on Titan Anime Review, episode number 25. This one I'm viewing the 57th episode of the Attack on Titan anime, That Day. Now, I looked it up. I just looked it up before I started recording this video, like how much of these there are two chapters, well, kind of mostly two chapters in a ways. Now, this one here begins with chapter 86, beginning with page 9, and covering pretty much the rest of the chapter. They do skip over a couple of gory bits, like I will get to in a minute, and they cover pretty much the entirety of 87. So this means as of right now, there's only 3 chapters left. Yep, only 3. Now, what happens in this episode? Well, the episode picks up exactly where the last week's episode left off. We have Grisha and Faye, his adorable 8-year-old sister, just looking at the outside world. And outside of their interment area, it kind of looks like, I'd say the 1920s, because I see some Model Ts. I'm like, wow, we see cars for the first time in the Attack on Titan anime. That's something. It's actually one of the few series I can think of where there's no freaking cars. Yes, the only other series I can think of that's kind of, well, not set in present day. I mean, it's much of a series I can think of that don't have cars in it. I mean, if you look at, say, Naruto. Naruto, in the entire franchise, has never featured a car. Nope. One Piece... No, not really. They've had horses, and they've had trains pop up there, but not cars. Nope, no cars. Yep. So they just look about, they look at the airship they basically last week, and they run into a man named Kreger, and he becomes a very important character for this episode. He basically suggests 2 punishments for basically traveling without, because they didn't have an exit permit. So he says, okay, I'll take the full punishment, like labor beating. So he chooses beating, and he does not want his sister basically get any punishment at all. So his partner just leads him away. This comes back later on in the episode, because something really bad happens to Faye. So after his beating, he basically looks at the thing, and the guy goes back home, sort of teaches the guy a lesson. As far as basically teaching him, oh, aliens are so terrible people. Despite the fact he easily points out, though, yeah, this history is complete bullcrap. Yeah, he finds it, it's whole complete bullcrap. And eventually about 15 years go by, and yeah, 15, actually, let's think. Yeah, I think it jumps ahead where he's 8. So, yeah, it jumps ahead to 8. When he's 18, he's a doctor. Of course, he's a doctor by the time he tribes in before the main series, and he's basically treating a patient like, I'm a patriot. Of course, he has a little scar on his shoulder, and basically he's real part of the elder restoration movement, and introduces him, and he's shocked to figure out what actually happened to his sister. His sister was later found dead. As for how she died, she was fed to dogs. Thank God they didn't show the gory imagery of a child being fed to dogs. As far as I can tell, not even the manga bought this, because I think even the writer basically realized that, yeah, that's quite disgusting to show. A death of a child. I mean, you can have one brief image of it. That's fine, the start of it. Don't need to show the body. Do not need to show that. Even the writer is sensible to that. Even the writer is not that stupid to do that. And it's a reviewer who actually is behind her death. And basically, he later meets Diana Fritz, the last member of the royal family. By the way, the royal family, the Fitz family, are revealed to be not the actual royal family, but it's actually the Ross family. They are the actual royal family. Yeah, now that part was a lie, but they do say, yeah, she's part of the royal bloodline. And later on, the following year, Grisha and her basically they fall in love, they have a child a year later, they get married, and they have a child, Zeke, and pretty much he raises Zeke to pretty much think that, yeah, the history of Marley, basically, because people, is all complete bullcrap. And he eventually sides with his grandparents, and basically just, let's say, snitches on his parents. They get sent. Now, I should point out, though, in the manga, when he's taken to this little torture room, they actually do cut this out because I think the anime knows this was kind of gross to see. In the manga, there's a brief little thing of Grish's fingers being chopped off. Yes. I think that even Wit Studio were like, probably saw that image. We're like, no, we're not putting that in the anime. That's disgusting. We're not going to show up people getting their fingers chopped off. Yeah, so they cut that out. They cut out like a couple pages from chapter 86, like when the other guy shows up, and then he basically, Grish is blindfolded, and he's taken to a wall. Now, I've seen this wall before in Ymir's flashback. Apparently, this was the same wall she was set 6 years prior to the events of the series, and when she was turned into a freaking Titan. Well, a Jaw Titan, mind you. And let's see. And pretty much now, people who were part of the restoration movement get turned to Titans. And it's revealed that some of the people were actually people who attacked Troust. Yes. Including the Beard Titan, the one who actually ate Eren. And then they turn his wife, Diana Fritz, to a Titan. And it's revealed here that which Titan she turned into. The Smiling Titan. The same Titan that ate Eren's mother. And Hans. Yep, same one. Though this Titan was later destroyed, thanks to Eren, though he does not know this was actually his father's first wife. He just figures out until actually the most recent episode realized this. And of course he had this brief scene in present day where Eren wakes up in his cell. Of course, it's basically him and Mitsuka serving time for insubordination. I'm not sure how long the time is supposed to be. It doesn't really say exactly how long he's been there for. My guess is probably about a week, I'd say, because if you look at Mitsuka's hair is all messed up, and she looks like she loses some muscle mass. Yes, I know that later on when they get out of their cell, Mitsuka is like seriously thin. Like, wow. Though she does build muscle back up before they get to the end of the arc. And then it's revealed that Kruger is this guy called the Owl that they hinted at the whole episode. And he does something completely quite interesting. Well, you might call it interesting. Okay, he slices his hand up, and then he transforms into a Titan. He's a Titan shifter. And which Titan is he turning into? The Attack Titan. Yes, the same Titan that Eren is the host to right now in present day. And him smashing up a couple ships in the Marley fleet. I mean, not as much as Armin does in the most recent arc, where he pretty much destroys the entire Marley Navy. Yep. But wow, what a way to end the episode. But I gotta at least got hands to the anime for covering almost like the rest of basically chapter 86, they started last week, and covering the entirety of chapter 87. Though, I don't think this, now 86, they did skip over one page in here. In the case this one, they do pretty much keep the entirety of what was presented in that particular chapter. I mean, some of the changes that you make are minor. I mean, yes, cut out the gory imagery, which is fine, and basically cut out the realization that possibly that Diana Fritz was the one who basically killed his mother, aka the Smiling Titan. Yep, it's not stated, it's implied that he knows, but he doesn't outright state it. I gotta say, really good episode. Also, second episode of the season to not feature the opening titles. Yeah, second one to do this. And they just did this just 2 episodes back. And this is I should point out, this is the 20th episode of the season. The last episode was episode 18. Now, here's the thing. There are 2 episodes left to air. And there's only 3 chapters left to adapt. My personal guess is they might just go through the entirety of chapter 88 and probably start 89. And they're probably going to cover the last, well, hopefully they'll finish this arc up on a happy note. Yeah. Now, as for, let's say, adapting, now I looked up a line. Now, I thought that the Marley arc, the current arc right now, I thought that basically was still going right now, the ones we're going to chapter 91. I should correct, though, about this. I looked up a line, that is actually not the case. The arc itself actually ended with chapter 106. The current arc has been going since chapter 107, and this is kind of considered to be the final arc of the series, despite the fact the writer himself has not publicly stated that this is going to be the end of the series, because he has not stated that this is the end at all, because he has not stated the series is going to end, because he has no plans to end the series. I'm sure he probably wants to end the series at some point, but basically is not publicly announced at all. I think it might be a good idea, but the arc itself, I mean, it's only been going on now. I mean, that's the most recent chapter. It's only been going on, I mean, since like 107, so that's roughly like about 12 chapters. So, roughly about a year this current arc is going on for. The last arc went on for 16 chapters, which probably makes it the second longest arc of the entire series. I mean, this arc and the previous arc in the anime, the Uprising and the Return to Shuast arc, these two are the longest arcs in the entire series at roughly 20 chapters. Yep. But I don't think they're. But in the case of the cutout here, I like the way that early on when they actually cut stuff out, move stuff around for the Uprising arc. This one, for this arc, they pretty much kept everything in, from what I can tell, that was presented in this arc so far. Everything in order, nothing is presented out of order, which is this is nice. And as for anime original stuff, well, there wasn't anything really anime original, so yeah. I have heard also when the episode of a series doesn't show the opening titles, means it's probably a good episode, and yes, it's definitely a good episode. And yeah, I'm sure they're probably going to show the opening titles again. I mean, I do think the opening titles for the second half of the season is a lot better than the first half. Because they felt kind of, they sounded very depressing. The imagery was fine. I had a problem with the imagery. I love the imagery they show for the current one because I love that the song is better than when they had at the start of the season. It feels very bland. The one they had at the start of the season. This one feels like a lot better. It has sort of the epic beat that was the opening song for season 1. It has the same beat to it, but it's not the same song per se. It's a completely different song, but it's a great song. Okay. Yep. So that's particularly it for this particular review. Now next week is the episode Attack Titan, which is going to cover the chapter Attack Titan. Obviously, yeah, because chapter 88 is that's what it's called. Unknown. I don't know if they're going to cover 89 as well for next week. I mean, I highly doubt they're going to chapter basically last 3 chapters in the next episode. I highly doubt that. They're probably just going to cover maybe just 88 and cover the last two chapters probably in the final episode of the season. That's my personal guess, anyways. Yeah. So I have one more video I'm going to do, and I'm going to do it next. Okay. But to this next video. Bye.